Abby, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I knew it was going to happen. So when we start talking about student challenges, there's kind of two areas that we see students struggle. The first area would be the academic transition, and then the second area is the social and emotional transition. So with academics, right, we're changing from a bachelor's degree to a master's or doctorate degree. And I think, speaking personally, right, it's a huge change there. Right. We're going from a place where um, you are taking in information that your faculty is giving you as a bachelor's seeking student. And then when you go into those higher levels, right, you're putting in the work to do that learning. Like you're doing the research, you are working beside your faculty and learning in that way, which is a little bit different. You also have an educational system change. You're coming from home where the educational system may be completely different than the United States. Um, we have a part in our orientation, which I will talk about later, where we have a faculty member come in and talk about the expectation here at the University of Wyoming and in the United States of how you interact with your faculty members, right? And how faculty here in the United States wants your input. They want your knowledge. They want you to share with the class, right? That's going to be an expectation. So that's kind of an example of some of the differences that you're going to see. And then language and communication. Um, right? You're going to be working with many different people. I mean, we have students from all over the world that are teaching, right? So you might be in a classroom with somebody that is not from the United States or that's teaching, and language may sound completely different, or they may use vocabulary that's unfamiliar. And even with right faculty from the United States, that may be the case. So that's going to be a potential struggle that you might face. There's also the time management aspect of going into a graduate program. Right, I talked a little bit about the classroom and culture and faculty interaction. Rigor and homework expectations, those tend to increase at graduate levels, right? There's going to be more expectations. And, Maria talked about students getting graduate assistantships or teaching assistantships. There is more and more work that gets piled on with those as you're in your graduate degree. And we do have, right, we have tons of resources. There's advising and tutoring to help with all of this. We have language preparation. Our office actually works very closely with our English Language Center to assist students in that transition here to the United States. And then if we move over to the social and emotional side of challenges, that first thing that we see, we call that the roller coaster. And so, right, when you first come to the university or to the United States, right, it's really an exciting time, and you're excited for your program, you're excited for a new place, right? You've done all these things. So you're, on this high at this on this roller coaster. And then, you get into classes and you start noticing that there's a lot of differences, and you're not surrounded by family, things are getting hard, so you kind of dip down emotionally, and then things kind of go back up. You're feeling pretty good, you're getting good grades on your tests, and then something hits you. Maybe you miss a holiday back home. You're missing family, classes get really hard, finals are coming up, and it's getting, you don't have enough time, right? So you're going to follow that roller coaster. um, Things that are important and sometimes really hard for students are, you're coming to a new place and you're going to be making new friends or needing to make new friends, right? Because we can't bring our friend circle with us when we come. Um, so that's a challenge that's going to be there. And maybe not something that we're thinking about now as we're thinking about applying, but it's definitely going to hit us. And when we're getting to that low point on that roller coaster, that, oh man, I'm not surrounded by the people that I love. What am I going to do? There's going to be interpersonal skills are going to differ a little bit. Eating and food availability. This is one that we hear about all the time. There's not a lot of African restaurants in Laramie, right? And so students end up traveling to Denver to get food so they can make things, right? And you're making your own food. It's not like you're going over to your grandparents' house and eating with your entire family. Like you're making this food by yourself. And that can be a struggle. Daily tasks can be a challenge, right? Financial struggles. Students that are on GAs and TAs, they're not making a lot of money as they're going to school, right? There's expenses that money has to pay for. And so financially, it can be a huge struggle. I've mentioned living on your own and without family. You also have to work to maintain those relationships back home and your brand new friendships that you have here. Where you want to go to the next slide? Awesome. So there are things that we work on, at least in our office, to help students kind of overcome some of these challenges, or to at least give students a little bit of support while they're going through that emotional roller coaster while they're here in the United States. So we try to kick things off pretty early. You get admitted to a program. You go through all the steps to get your I-20 from us. You're getting ready to do your visa process, or maybe you've gone through your visa process, and we're going to get you information about our online pre-arrival orientation, right? Which in this pre-arrival orientation, we're trying just to give you the information that's relevant to you at that time, right? Because there's not a whole lot that you can do to prepare for school until you really get here and you're involved, in getting your classes and working with your advisors and your faculty. So what we put in that pre-arrival orientation is information that discusses like your immigration, right? It talks about those things that Maria talked about. It kind of gives you the step-by-steps of what you need to do. It talks about travel. There is Laramie's kind of secluded. We're a ways away. We're about a little over 2 hours away from Denver if traffic is really good. And Denver is a major airport for travel. So students will come into Denver, but then they have to figure out how to get to Laramie. And how do you do that? Do you hop on a regional flight that goes from Denver to Laramie? Do you get on a bus? We don't have any trains that come up here. Hopefully one day we'll have that. We have some things that are designed to help make that travel a little bit easier, and we continue to work to aid you in that travel. We talk a little bit about housing on campus, right? And that's like thinking like if I were to move, across the world, housing would be a huge concern to me. So we try to get a little bit of that information out there to you so you can start making those decisions. So when you arrive, you are prepared. You may have department-specific orientations for pre-arrival stuff. So I know that students that have teaching assistants, there is an online pre-arrival orientation that is done for those students. And that is to best prepare you for your job when you get here. After you arrive, so travel went great, you're coming in, let's say in the fall, you're really stoked, and you get on campus and you check in with our office. And as soon as you check in, we give you a whole list of things to do. And really, one of the most important pieces of that is the in-person, we call it a welcome. And that is just us officially welcoming you to the university and giving you so much information. We discuss, like I said, we discuss academics in the US. We have a faculty member that comes and talks about her experience in her classroom and how she would expect you, right, as a graduate student to interact with faculty. We talk about culture shock, right, that roller coaster, and how to adjust. We talk about the safety on campus, who to call in an emergency. We talk about immigration and visa regulations that are important to you now that you are in the United States, things that you need to abide by. We talk about employment. And then we also talk about our vast amounts of student resources. At this welcome, we also employ students like Emmanuel as global student ambassadors. And these are students that have been at the university for a little bit of time. They kind of know the lay of the land, and they help students adjust and answer questions, and really are just support for students as they're going through this process, right? There may be things that they're like, I'm really uncomfortable asking Maria about this, but I'm going to go head over to Emmanuel, who has been here for a year, and I'm going to get his opinion, right? So I think that our orientation is pretty, we make it mandatory, so it's pretty important because there is information. And if it doesn't, if you don't retain much of that orientation, you know who we are, so you can come chat with us at any time. Excuse me. Other orientations that happen will be department orientations, and these are so vast in what they could be. So we have a program that does like a field work orientation. They go out into the field and they are camping and just preparing the cohort of students coming in for their program to be prepared for the program, right? To get to know each other, to build some camaraderie, which is wonderful. And those are usually mandatory and departments, and that's really important for you to get connected with your department in that way. So we highly suggest students attend their department orientations. I mentioned this a little bit before, but the teaching assistant, graduate assistant orientation, those are also in person. They also will provide, we have an office on campus that provides opportunities to continue to develop those skills as a teaching or graduate assistant here at the University of Wyoming that lasts throughout a student's first semester. And then there's employee orientation, right? You're a brand new student to the university, but you are also working. So there is orientation that you're going to have to go through to be an employee to make sure that you're following rules that the United States and the university has to be employed here at the university. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our office, the International Students and Scholars Office. We do a lot of things, and Maria and I think we both were introduced or got introduced you all to what we do personally, but our office is the hub for international advising, right? We are the people on campus that have information about how your status as an international student is impacted by rules and regulations here at the university, how things change here in the United States, how that's going to affect you, and the way that you need to operate within those rules and regulations so you stay in status. We are the ones that are experts on work authorization as an international student, right? Because there's some specific rules that you have to follow. Travel, if you're going to travel outside the United States, we have to kind of be involved in that. We help students to maintain their status, and we do immigration advising. The community aspect of our office, right, that's a responsibility of all the employees in our office, but I kind of head that up a little bit because I think it's really important that our office is a place where we can build community, right? I talked a little bit earlier about how you're coming to a different place where you don't have those family and friends, right? You left them back home. So we want to build that community for you to be supporting in any way that we can. So what we do is we support our various student organizations in any events that they host. And these could be tiny events, these could be huge events, right? We had an event, it must have been last spring, right? Where we celebrated our African community, right? The students got together and they had food brought in from outside of Laramie. And right, there was dancing, there was a fashion show, there was it was wonderful. But right, we support students by funding those events or by helping them organize those events. We also build community by connecting students to each other, right? I had a student in my office the other day who is going through some pretty exciting but challenging life change. But she had a lot of questions about, who else has done this? What am I going to, how do I expect faculty to act? What words do I use to inform my faculty about my life-changing event? And so I asked her, I said, well, can I ask to check to see if I can have another student reach out to you to maybe share her experience? And she was like, yes. So connecting those students together so they can share, that common thing that brings them together. Our office hosts a weekly coffee and breakfast, right? As a grad student, sometimes it's hard to feed yourself. I know that feeling as a grad student once myself, right? You are reading for hours and hours or writing or doing research. Sometimes you're sleeping in a lab. Our office knows that you are busy, and if you can take 10 minutes out of your day to walk across campus to grab some breakfast and a coffee to keep you going, we want to do that for you. So we provide a weekly breakfast and coffee. And then our most, I guess, joyous occasion that we celebrate is multicultural graduation. And that is when you get ready to graduate. We hold a very special ceremony for you that is streamed out to the world. So family that cannot come to see that in person, they can watch you walk across stage and they can watch you and hear you give comments about their support or the support of your faculty or whatever you want to talk about. And then we stole you with a stole from your country. And it's a magical celebration that we love. This list is not everything that we do. There's a lot of little things that, you know, support students in a way that maybe students don't know that they needed that support. But our office is always here. We refer to ourselves as family. And we love everybody that we have coming in that are here, and we stay connected with you even after you leave. Okay, so here is a list of some of the main campus resources that we have. And we work pretty closely with all of these offices, but we have academic advising, which is it's a massive network across a campus. All advisors are connected. They're given information through the Advising Career and Exploratory Studies office here on campus, the college advising centers within each college. So College of Engineering, College of Ag, College of Education, Health Sciences. They are all connected and they share resources and they share knowledge, but they are there to really help students develop into who they want to be. And they just do amazing things. So I know that, right, we've had lots of students as they're getting ready to graduate, the Advising Career and Exploratory Studies office helps them build that resume or that CV. They help them write their cover letters, right? And it's just an amazing service. And then when you leave the University of Wyoming, that office continues to serve you, right? So you need to make some adjustments to any of those documents or do a mock interview. They will take the time and they will help you do that. We have lots of tutoring and academic literacy support here on campus. Tutoring is massive, right? So we have an app that students can schedule tutoring through. We have the English Language Center, right? They can help with literacy support. Or sorry, jumped ahead a little bit. It's Co-Library who does they do literacy support. There are workshops and writing sessions that they have specifically for graduate students that are getting ready or are in the throes of completing their dissertation, right? They have people that can read and help edit the papers that you are writing, your dissertation and all of that. We have language support, right? I've mentioned the English Language Center. There's lots of events that they do. And they are good friends of ours. So if we notice a student is struggling, right, we may suggest, hey, if you need a little bit of writing help, go down and talk to the English Language Center. They would love to be able to give you some tips on grammar or something, whatever that is. We have many, many, many student organizations. So we have the Campus Activity Center. They host all of our recognized student organizations. Excuse me. And those organizations are so vast. So some of the ones that I've talked about below, we have the International Student Association. That is an association made up of students that represents all of our international students. And they have a place with the Associated Students of the University, ASUW, listed above, who is our student government. And they are able to influence the president and our board of trustees here at the University of Wyoming to make changes to help students. So that's a pretty special organization to be a part of. And you have great access to administrators that can make some change on campus. We have country and religious-based organizations. So we have WASA, which is one of them. Emmanuel, I don't remember who you were all involved with, but we have Engineers Without Borders. We have, I think, Women in STEM, um, just almost anything. And if there's something that you can't find, right, there's the opportunity to gather students and create your own organization. But I'm pretty confident if you come to the University of Wyoming, you're going to be able to connect with something that's established that will give you support and maybe bring some of that home life here to Wyoming to help you celebrate that. We have mental health counseling here at the University of Wyoming. As a student, you have access to the University of Wyoming Counseling Center, where we have licensed counselors that can help you with so many different things. We have the Wellspring Center, which is over in the College of Education, and our counseling students assist with that center. We have medical and health services. Those are actually in the same building as the International Students and Scholars. They're right upstairs. We work very closely with them to have students come into the University of Wyoming and go through the medical side of things fairly quickly, and hopefully without headache. They are there Monday through Friday, and they do great things. You know, if we need to refer a student out to a physician that is outside of the university, they are the ones that do that. We have employment support. So like above, I talked about in conjunction with the academic advising, places that can help you find internships, places that can help you with your resume or your cover letter. Our student resources office, we stay pretty well connected to them, and we give them a lot of suggestions on how to make things a little bit easier for our students. With that, we also have our tax support. So we have an office here on campus that helps all of our students file their taxes, because taxes in the United States are so confusing. But we have members in that office that walk students through the tax filing process to make it really easy. We have the gym, Half Acre Gym and Wellness Center. It is a massive gym here in the United States, right? For some reason, we measure areas of land in acres. So the gym, when it was built, right, it was a half-acre gym, and so which is why it has that name. They also have the wellness center attached to them, which is great because they have these awesome massage chairs as a student. Right, you get done with a really, really hard exam and you just want to go sit in a massage chair. That's free to you. So lots of great services there. We have our Dean of Students. And they assist students in so many different aspects, right? If a student is struggling with a faculty member, not only can the Dean of Students like give tips to that students, but they can maybe help be a liaison to correct a situation. We have the Office of the Registrar, right? That's going to be where all of your student records are housed. They are going to help you get transcripts, or if you are sponsored by somebody, they're going to get the information, or they're going to help you get that information to that sponsor, so you can stay on good terms with that sponsor, and they're just wonderful.
All right, you guys get me back for a little time here. I'm going to try to go through these next couple slides quickly just because I want to leave time for some questions. If you have questions, though, feel free to drop those in the chat box, and Abby will grab those while I'm talking, or we can get to them in the end. So we've gone through the whole process: application, admission, you've gotten your visa, you've gotten to UW, we've helped you kind of go through your initial transition to campus. You're now involved with student organizations, you're connected with resources, and all these things that Abby has described on our campus. And so we did want to give you just a little bit of what the immigration rules are. I like to say this is the boring part of my job, just telling you what the government requires that you do to be in status while you're here. It's the most important, because if you're not in status, that causes a huge problem. So we do try to help you as much as we can with these things. So one of the main requirements being a student on a student visa here is that you be enrolled in classes full time. for each regular semester. So for us, that's in the fall and the spring. Our summer is our vacation semester. So students could stay here in the summer if they want to, but they don't have to enroll, which is a kind of a nice break. But other than that, you have to be enrolled full time. For graduate students, that's 9 credits. So usually that's 3 classes. You can take an online or distance class, but as a grad student, 6 of your credits have to be on campus, meaning in person. And then you could take an online course from UW as part of that full time. And we do have exceptions for medical or mental health, for language difficulty, for incorrect course placement. As Abby mentioned, we have counseling centers and our student health and wellness centers on our campus. If you have a physical or mental health reason, you cannot be in classes full time to best care for yourself, and your care provider can write support letters to us. We can make an exception to give you a little bit of a break. And you can do that for up to 1 year during your degree, which is nice because with all the adjustment and then of course medical things happen, we want to make sure students are healthy and taken care of as well as learning. Language difficulty we don't use very often because you have to have your English proficiency to get here, but once in a while we'll have other reasons where we do let you be full-time. But generally you have to be full-time in every semester while you're here. Concurrent enrollment is allowed, and that's just saying that you can count courses if you're registered at a course from another institution at the same time. That can count toward part of your full time here. That's not as common in grad students because grad programs are usually really specific. We see this more with our undergrad bachelor's students. But if you were in, 6 credits here at UW and there was an online graduate course in another school that would fill a requirement here, you could do that as part of your full time. And then there are employment limitations. So because you're coming on a student visa, the point is for you to be here and be a student, not to be an employee. But immigration does know that you might need to fill time, right? You might need to have something to do in your spare time, or you just might need to make some extra money for yourself while you're here. So you are allowed to work on the student visa, but it is very regulated. And I'm going to talk about work here on the next slide. So I'm not going to go into that here. But those are the 3 main requirements for student visa holders: full-time enrollment, concurrent enrollment if needed, and then the employment limitations. When it comes to immigration, ultimately it is the student's responsibility to follow all the immigration regulations. But we try to do a lot of education, and Abby kind of mentioned this on our campus with our faculty, our advisors, our other campus staff, so that they're aware that as an international student, you have some special regulations that our domestic students don't have. So something as simple as just asking a student to work a little bit extra, or saying, hey, here's an online course that would fit better. Let's change that for you. So we try to work with our campus so that they know international students have extra rules that they have to follow, because while it's your responsibility as a student, it's really complex. And so we try to help as best we can. And then also international offices, like I said, we usually provide reminders and checks to help students follow regulations. For example, the first week of the semester, I pull a report of all of our international students and their enrollment. And if they're not meeting the full-time requirement, I send an email that says, hey, we've started classes and your class doesn't meet the requirement. Here's what you need to do to fix it. So anything we can do to try to make following the immigration rules a little bit easier, we will do, because we understand that it's complex and it's scary. So, and then just quickly, I did want to dive into employment because we do get so many questions about, can I work while I'm a student at the university? So basically there's 3 main types of employment for students. Most students are going to come on the F1 student visa. So some of these apply just to that, but all student visa holders are allowed to come and work on campus, so that you have to be paid by your campus or approved to do work on your campus for another company. So a lot of our students work like in our dining hall, in the gym, in the wellness facilities. Some work in offices on campus or in labs. You're allowed to work no more than 20 hours per week during the academic semester. Because you're here to be a student, you need to be full-time, and immigration doesn't want you putting aside your study to work. So you are limited to 20 hours per week. But those jobs don't have to be related to your major. As I said, you could be working in the dining hall or in the coffee shop, or just in an office of your choice. Maybe you find a job doing something you find enjoyable outside of your major and study area. So you can work on campus during the school year. And then during our breaks, during our spring break, which is coming up next week, during our summer vacation, and then our winter break between the two semesters in December, students are allowed to work more than 20 hours per week because they're not in school full time at that point. So immigration will let you work a little bit more. Um, Curricular practical training is for those on the F1 visa. It's approved by us. The DSOs are what we are here. That's our immigration title here at the schools, and that's for internships. So internships are really, really valuable from an education perspective and experience perspective. And so if our students get an opportunity to do an internship away from campus, usually, but they could be on campus, they can get paid for those internships, which is nice, or they may be unpaid. But our students can get authorization for that from us so that they can take part in those opportunities, getting, again, the job experience, but the educational experience in their field in a real life setting. And they're allowed to do that up to 20 hours per week during the semester or more in the summer. So a lot of our students get jobs working, I guess we would say full time, more than 20 hours per week during the summer term. A lot of our students do those internships to get experience and also to make some money, which is really nice. There are some other work authorizations that hopefully our students don't need to worry about, but those are economic hardship, TPS, temporary protected status, special student relief, some other work authorizations that can happen depending on things that might happen once you're already here in the US. Those things there, except for adjustment of status, something kind of bad has happened in some way or another to qualify you for those. So hopefully we don't have to deal with them. But the big one, I think that's important to a lot of our students is optional practical training, OPT, which is work after graduation. So that is approved by USCIS, which is the US Government Citizenship and Immigration Service. And we assist students with that process when you're getting ready to graduate. You apply for OPT. Your work does have to be related to your major. It's designed that you can graduate, but you can stay on the student visa status and then be allowed to stay and get some work experience in your field. So it does have to be related to your major. Post-completion OPT is the first year, right after you finish study. And then if you have completed your degree here in the US in a STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, and math, which that list is growing and growing, the programs we have in those fields. Once you complete your first year, you can apply for 2 additional years. So students that complete a STEM degree can usually participate in this post-graduation employment for up to 3 years on their student visa, which is really nice because you don't have to have an employee sponsor you for that work authorization. That's based on your completion of the degree, which is really good. It's sometimes hard to find sponsors for employment in the US. So that does give you an opportunity to work a little bit. Um,
Okay. Hello, Mara. Yeah,
uh-huh.
okay. I think we're already here. So I just wanted to let you know, we just have about 3 minutes left
Two
for this
minutes.
session.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And so, yeah, we're here. So
Okay.
Abby mentioned the multicultural graduation ceremony, and that's that picture in the center there. That photo is a little bit dated, but I pulled that for some specific reasons. Emmanuel, I couldn't find one with you in it. I did look though. Um,
Um,
but that's our ceremony that we talked about where we give students stoles from their countries. And I just wanted to pull some pictures to kind of show you a little bit of Laramie and our students doing work and doing study and having fun. So I put Abby's and my email in the chat sometime back there. So if you have questions, you can absolutely reach out to us anytime.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mara, and thank you so much, Abby. Once again, I want to apologize that I did not introduce you, Maria. So sorry. I personally thought it was going to be, 2 distinct sessions. So while Abby takes her session and she's done, then we welcome you. But still, I'll still go ahead to read your bio, right? So, okay. So if you could stop sharing so I could share my screen. Thank you very much, Abby. Yes, and just briefly, so Maria Almendares is currently an immigration coordinator, international students and scholars at the University of Wyoming, and then she has served as a mentor for the UW football, managed operations for Laramie Colts Collegiate Baseball Club, and she presented on practicing Self-Care in International Education for NAFSA's e-Connection. She recently she received her master's degree in adult and post-secondary education from the University of Wyoming. So thank you very much, Maria, for speaking to us. Thank you very much, Abby, for sharing so much insights. Just to give, a summary, you took us from, common application documentations, and then the additional documentations that are required for admission for international students. And then you went on to give us a crash course really on student visa process. And for me, I really found that session quite insightful and informative because most times people want to come to the US, and you mentioned having to know wait times in your country, right? Which is something that a lot of people do not factor in when coming to the US. So they just feel, oh, once I apply for a visa, I'm going to get an interview date probably the next week or in a month. But like you said, this can really take 3 weeks, 3 months, right, in wait times. And then Abby took us down the various culture shocks. Speaking with Emmanuel and some of you know, friends at the US, realized a lot of culture shocks, and then the support you provide as international students at the International Students and Scholars team, how you help international students get on with grad school. Thank you so much. Because I hope I was hoping we could take questions, but our next speaker, she has another engagement in the next 15 minutes. So if you can wait on the call, that would be so perfect to take questions after that. If not, we'll get the questions and then we'll send it to you. Thank you also for dropping your mails so that if there are any questions after the presentation, individuals could also reach out directly to you. Thank you once again, Maria. Thank you so much, Abby, for your time. We greatly appreciate all of us from Cable are saying a big thank you. So right
Thank
away
you,
would
God.
would jump.
Just 30 seconds. Just want to say thank you again. Just to reiterate our appreciation to Abby and Maria for. I know the time difference and every other engagement that you have, and just trying to make sure that you guys be here today. It's something that we really appreciate, and very grateful for that. And hopefully in the future we'll get to do more. If you would have obliged us in the future as well. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think Maria just confirmed that she would be staying on the call to get some questions. So yes, I personally do have questions. So immediately after our next session, we'll just take a few questions as relates to F1 visas, I-20s, and then having to adapt to US culture. Okay, so our next session is from a PhD student at Princeton University, strategic positioning for funding and scholarship. Promise is a graduate student in computer science. Her research interest is in developing solutions to challenges in AI safety, fine-tuning language models, and building reinforcement learning algorithms in human-computer interaction. Promise graduated with a first class as the best graduating student in the 2020 CPE class. At the University of Benin, she held leadership roles such as Secretary General of the Computer Engineering Association, Secretary General of the Engineering Final Year Committee, and University Coordinator of the Eugenius Club for students' academic outreach and mentorship and free mentorship. She was an intern with Shell, where she developed technical skills in SQL and Python, and was involved in the Shell Eco Marathon Monitoring Global Project. She has worked on a data warehousing project with Union Bank and as a data scientist with Data Science Nigeria. Quite a profile. She loves to play the piano at her leisure. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's make welcome Promise Ekpo as she speaks to us on strategic positioning for funding and scholarship. Over to you, Promise, and welcome.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Daniel. And Oh, so apparently I can't share my screen yet, but maybe I'll just say one or two before I actually focus on the major area I'm going to focus on today. So, yeah, my
You
name
can
is.
share your screen now. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. And maybe I'll just talk a little bit before I actually share my screen, because my screen is mostly about emailing professors. And I can just say one or two about the scholarship process. So I think it starts with a determination of like knowing you can do it. So it involves you like figuring out which course you want to study and which kind of schools are great for those courses and which kind of schools provide funding for those courses. So I think that's very important. So not to just like search randomly, but figuring out the schools actually give funding for your course. And one good way to do that is through like PhD stipends. I could see if I could pull it up. Oh yeah, maybe this is a good time for me to start sharing my screen. And so PhD stipends is this website that enables you to figure out which I'm gonna get rid of some of this. It helps you figure out like which schools have funding for your course. Now, this is not the only way to figure it out, but this was one method that I used that kind of helped me as at then. So basically, it allows current PhD students to enter their stipend, or it can enable you to skip to the data. And so what you have to do here is to just type the name of the course you want to study. For example, if I'm interested in getting funding for computer science. So the idea of this is actually that for a student to have a stipend, it means they're getting paid for their PhD. So that is kind of like why you know that, oh, any university I see here, most likely they have funding for my course. So if I want to search for computer science, I could simply search for computer science here. And yeah, add some whatever, pop it up. I'm going to pin this. And cool. So you can see a list of schools that offer computer science that actually give a stipend and like what the pay is and the years of people that entered this information are. So you can see a list of good schools, right? And so you can then narrow down from these schools and begin to search the department website of the schools, right? And figure out like, oh, what is the requirement? Because the requirements are different, right? So some schools do not need IELTS or TOEFL. If you did your undergrad in an English like speaking institution or country, so you have to figure out they have that option. And then some schools do not require GRE for some courses. So instead of like, because I realized that some people use the GRE and IELTS as a means to procrastinate about sending in their application. So if you know that, oh, you probably don't have that money, then you probably want to figure out like which schools will allow you work with what you have, right? And yeah, so that is one major thing. So I guess one major advice I have is that ensure whatever before you start making all the efforts to like contact the professor and everything, ensure that you're able to, that they have funding. Even if their names are not here, you could maybe ask current students or just in fact read through the information on the website. At times some website information could be outdated. So if you are unsure, you can contact someone that's called a graduate coordinator, and that would help you. And so that is one major thing when looking for funding. The other thing I would say is that what you need to have a statement of purpose. You need to have like your CV handy, not in the work format, but in a format for in a format that supports like so in an academic format. So there is a work CV. You can just like take your work CV and just paste it into like your application. No, you have to like highlight some important criteria such as like research experience, work experience, maybe publications if you have any, conferences you've attended, and things like that. So yeah, so that is the second major thing I would say. And some schools will ask you for a personal statement, a diversity statement, in addition to a statement of purpose. The statement of purpose should give them an idea about your future, your career goals, your background, and like why you want to do what you want to do and which problem you'll be solving. All this should be very clear. And why you want the school to attend the school and why that department. So maybe your reason is that they're good faculty mentors there, or working on things aligned with your research interests. So all of these have to be like crystal clear, right? So and then finally, I'm going to touch on another area I think is important, which is like contacting professors. So if you're going to study a master's and it's maybe an MNG program, this might not be applicable to you, but if you're trying to study like maybe a PhD or an MSc, which is a 2 years master's that allows you the opportunity to do a thesis, you probably need to email a professor and ask them some questions. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And so basically, I'll just go through a very simple agenda of why you want to send an email and when to do that and how your structure should be. Let me say that this is not it's not like it must strictly be this, but it's great if it's like this. Like this is the method I know that I've seen work for people. So the idea of sending an email to professor is to actually sell yourself and to inquire whether there's space in a research lab or group for you and if funding is available. So you want to do this once, like I said, you've identified a research interest, you know, a department that has that research interest. For example, if you're interested in natural language processing, that's probably under computer science, or maybe some departments have electrical and computer engineering, and that might be under that. So you want to you want to give it language to what you're trying to do, right? And then, so you can, once you have that research interest, you can go through the personal website of the professor you're considering and start sending out emails. So if you don't know where to find the names of professors, you just want to go to the computer science or whatever is the name of the department you want to apply to website, or you could even ask the grad coordinator and they could point you to a list. But most of them have them online. So in general, you don't have to ask the grad coordinator. Unless they are new recruits and you have a very new faculty that just joined maybe 2 months ago or something. In that case, they might not be on the university website. So that's why I say at times it's good to ask. And so you want to structure your first email with a simple subject, and then you want to appreciate their work in paragraph 1. So, and this is a format, right? Like good day, Professor ABC. I'm excited about your profile and I want to see if I'll have the opportunity to do this. And this is when I'll be applying. And you want to talk about how your research aligns with their current work. So one good way to do this is to look at their Google Scholar profile and figure out maybe 1 or 2 of their papers. So you want to look at more recent publications, those within the range of maybe 2 years from now, or even just last year work. So maybe if you're searching now, you want to check 2023 and 2024 kind of work, and then see which of them sounds good to you. And then you want to structure your paragraph, mention awards and what have you. So a simple format could be something like this. So you've appreciated their work, you've told them what you're interested in. If they are reading your email up to this point, they probably want to now know who you are. So some people start with introducing themselves first, that's okay. But I feel like just go straight to the point, hey, this is what I'm interested in. And then they could be willing to now hear about you after that. And so this could be a brief overview of who you are. You want to put your course of study, your CGPA, if it's really high. If you don't think it's very high, maybe you don't have to add it here. Just put what you graduated from and talk about, learn to sell yourself is something I would tell you about this. So they don't know you from anywhere. They're going to know what you tell them. So you want to ensure you're selling yourself properly, and then you want to inquire whether they are certain students. So this one is very key, right? This is the entire essence of your email, right? So and you want to let them know that you're available for Zoom calls and thank them, and then you want to attach your CV and transcript if you have those. But some minor comments, right? So if a professor doesn't reply to you the first time, you could send a follow-up email. Then when you receive a positive response, you want to you'll be excited. So don't do anything when you're excited. Don't send an email when you're excited. You're going to miss typos. You're probably not thinking right. You want to maybe talk to maybe a friend, a colleague who is applying on these things with you, and type up an answer and send it to them for them to have a look. Or if you have a mentor that's kind of mentoring through this process, you want to send them something oh yes, what the professor sent. Yes, what I'm about to send. And then maybe 5 hours when you are more chilled, you can respond. And then negative response too. Don't just respond immediately to a negative response. Maybe don't just like type, hey, no worries, or of course, or any funny stuff. Just still say, maybe you don't have to do an import, like don't do anything when you're emotional. So if you're negative response, you're probably not feeling good about that. You can take your time and then later you can say, oh, thank you for your response, because that's also a good feedback, right? That means you don't have to bother checking out their stuff. And if maybe there are like 3 professors that have similar things, you know that that particular professor that already said no to you in the email should probably not get on your statement of purpose as one of those you want to work with. So it's still good feedback, right? And so the final note, don't start asking them that, please, can you give me a scholarship immediately in your first email? That would be like a turn off. Like they know about that, they have to fund you, right? If they eventually like start talking to you and stuff. And so GRE scores, some people don't give a lot of importance to some of the scores. They're more interested in your research experience. So, you want to ensure that you just don't need to give them your essay, unless some of them will tell you, send me your application materials. In that case, send them everything. And you want to ensure that your fonts look professional, that there's no like different fonts and stuff. And so that is basically what I had to share. Thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Promise. This was quite insightful and, giving sample formats, step-by-step guide to share or sending cold mails to professors. Top notch. Thank you so much, Promise. So I just have one question, before I get further questions, maybe 2 or 3, and then let you run off. I know we're already running into your time. So in a situation where you send an email to the graduate coordinator, just to confirm information you have on the website, and the graduate coordinator is saying, oh, you see, you don't have to email any faculty, right? If the school gives you admission, there will be funding. What's your best advice in that scenario? And you probably know someone who's in the school who has said, try and email professors, to go along with to help you. But the grad code is saying you don't have to, just apply.
I would say that some schools have heard of cases where some people did not email professors ahead of hand and they got into programs, and that is cool. I think the graduate coordinators, I don't know, like graduate coordinators, and they have a lot of information about how the department works, but I guess that they're not the one that funds students, right? So I guess like for me, the only advantage I see about contacting a professor is that sometimes they might be more curious to know about you and they're actually thinking of taking a student. So in that case, it would be helpful to you, right? If you reach out to them. So I don't know, in my own approach, I ensure to reach out to the professors, because I realized that then the schools that I got offers from, some of them were from interviews with professors. And so I think I just know, I know that it works. Some schools have their own principles. I think some school like CMU, we say you don't have to, but we all see that, it's good to put a face to the name. It's good because there's so many people in the application package. There's so many people that could have said they wanted to work with that professor, and professor has to sort this large list of so it helps if you're already distinguishing yourself by sending an email, so that at least your name is familiar and they're able to you never know, right? They may be on their laptop and you're able to just it pops up and they're like, oh, let me actually see what this person is talking about, right? So I think it helps you, right? But it's not it's not something you have to do. But if you do it, might give you an advantage, right? And it might help you get, like I said, feedback, right? Someone say, oh, sorry, I'm not taking any students. Then you know that your name should not go on your statement of purpose, because how there's a paragraph in statement of purpose where you talk about faculties you're interested in working with. Yeah. So if you've talked to these people ahead of time, some have told you oh, I'm not taking a student this year, or sorry, I already chose my students, or whatever they said, right? So their names do not have to take up space like a statement of purpose. you could now put the names of maybe some others that you reached out to that didn't say anything. And so, yeah, that
Thank
is
you. Thank you very much, Promise. And I wouldn't want to keep you longer than necessary, because I know you literally just had to squeeze out this time from your schedule to speak to us. So thank you very much, Promise, on behalf of Cable. We really do appreciate that you came on the call. And just to put it out there, I think Promise had about 5 scholarships, if I'm correct. And
I got 5 admissions, not exactly 5.
sorry, 5 admissions, right?
Oh,
And then she had to, go for Princeton. So yeah, I'm pretty sure she'd be willing to, give you the assistance you need, if you reach out to her on, say, LinkedIn. So thank you once again, Promise, for coming to speak to us.
all right, thank you so much. Thanks everyone and all the best. Yeah, the Prof Day website is PhD stipends. I could wait, did you say about the professors where we can find schools of professors? Okay, yeah. So I said it's you can find schools here that give funding for a particular course. And for the professors, I say you should check their Google, not for funding, but to know about their work. You can check Google Scholar. Just type their name in Google Scholar and it should be out. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Promise. Okay, so we just had, and thank you very much, Maria, for staying on the call, as well as Abby. I think Abby is still. I'm just trying to run that check. Yes, thank you very much, Maria and Abby, for staying on the call. So very quickly, we'll take some few questions as relates to the F1 visa, adapting to US culture, and also applying to optional practical training in the US. So I would just ask a question and also leave the floor for other participants who would have the question. So you mentioned that say for UW, you would typically give out the I-20 form to students who can fund 1 year of academic needs in terms of finance. What's the guarantee that this, in terms of funding, right, that this lets the interview committee in the consulate give that student a visa, considering the student has not provided up to 2 years for a master's program, 2 years funding, they just have a year. So your thoughts on that would be great. So if the I-20 is released, say for 1 year funding that is provided in, say, confirmation of financial resources, what's the guarantee for a visa?
Sure, that's a great question. So the 1 year of funding, so I should back up one step. When we issue the I-20, the I-20 is issued for the period of study. So if you're admitted for a master's program at UW, we issue the I-20 with a 3-year program dates as an estimate. That could be extended once you're here. For the PhD, we issue that with a 5-year estimate, and then it could be extended. So the period of time in the document is for what we estimate is the base time for completion of that degree program. Funding wise, though, so the federal law that we have to follow in order to issue an I-20, the federal law from the US Immigration Service says that I need to see that the student has liquid assets, so money either in a bank account or promised by the institution or by the government, something promising that that student has funding for the first year. And we need to have a sense that that funding would continue. But we don't need to see actual proof of that, because we know that sometimes funding has to be renewed each year, or things like that. So when the consulate looks at that, they operate under the same basic rules. They have to know that the student has funding for at least the first year and anticipate that that funding would continue so that they can continue to fund their study for the duration of their program. So the consulate generally should not be asking you to show proof of 3 or 4 or 5 years of funding because they know that that's not necessarily logical. Now, I have had students who have emailed and said, my visa was denied and they told me I had to show proof of 3 years of funding. I don't know how accurate that is because the consulate has a manual that they have to follow when assessing documents. And so that manual does say that you should show 1 academic year of funding, but that could be for a lot of reasons. That consular officer might be questioning the validity of that funding. Our consular officers are experts in the economy, the banking systems locally, and things like that. So there could be an underlying reason that they're telling a student that, but generally we only have to see 1 year because that's the rule that we have to go by. Often if our students had to show proof of funding for the entirety of their program, most people can't do that. That's a lot of money. And so we know that sometimes that's being paid by a family member or friend, and they have to make that money throughout the year. So we only have to see 1 year because that's just the law that tells me what I have to see before I can issue that document.
Oh, thank you very much, Mara, for such apt response. And I think this goes to also help students who are looking forward to applying for a visa to help them, know how to approach that once they're able to secure at least a year of funding. Okay, I don't know if there are any other questions. I know you answered the question regarding family, that was asked on the chat. I don't know if we have any other question from any participants. If there are none, uh, so by the way, we do have a community where these questions come up, and just in case there's none on the call at the moment, we would always be in touch if we receive such questions in our community. Okay, so I think in the absence of none, that would be it. Thank you very much, Maria, once again, and thank you very much, Abby, especially for staying up till this moment in the session. Okay, so we'll just take or head straight to our final session for today, and that would be a session from Amaka. So Amaka is at Texas A&M, and Amaka would also talk to us, about assessing funding. And we are having two sessions on this because for us international students, funding is key. So we want to hear from, as many persons as possible how to quickly and position ourselves strategically for funding and scholarship. So I'll just tell us a little about Amaka, and she would have the floor. So Amaka is a PhD student in the Department of Horticultural Sciences at the Texas A&M University. She works as a research assistant in the Potato Breeding and Variety Development Program. Her research focuses on unraveling the mechanisms of heat tolerance in potato varieties to guide breeding efforts towards the development of heat-tolerant potatoes. Prior to joining Texas A&M University, Amaka earned her MS as a master's degree in cytogenetics and plant breeding in 2021 and her Bachelor of Science in Plant Sciences and Technology in 2016 from the University of Jos, Nigeria. Amaka aspires to apply the knowledge she is gaining to contribute to the development of climate-resilient crop varieties to enhance their performance under challenging climate conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's make welcome Amaka Ifeduba from Texas A&M University. Over to you, Amaka.
Hello, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to come and have this conversation with you. I don't know if I can share my screen.
Yeah, sure, you can now.
Okay, thank you. Just give me a moment. I'm not sure why I'm not saying it.
Could you email it to Emmanuel, if that's possible, if it's not coming up, so we share from this end.
Let me just try one more time and see if that works.
Okay, sure.
Where is the Zoom call?
So while we're waiting for Amaka's slide, just to reiterate that this session is being live streamed on YouTube. So in case you missed out on any of the sessions, either Maria's, Abby's, or Promises session, you could head on to our YouTube channel to, rewatch these sessions. You can find us on YouTube at cable_ng, at cable_ng. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm probably going to email it to him because I'm not sure why it's open here on my screen, but when I try to share, I don't see it. So I'm not very sure why that's happening. So I'll send him a quick email so he can share it.
Okay, great.
Yes. Emmanuel. I need to remember what his email is.
Okay, so I'll quickly just share.
Yeah, I did. You can tell me because we've shared emails before. I just need something to search. Like maybe what's his last name or something I can search.
Obasi. Yeah, Obasi.
Oh, Basi. Okay, yeah, I found it.
Okay, good.
Let's see, sending slides. Next. Okay. Yeah, I just sent it.
Okay, so
Emmanuel, you should probably download and then share the screen.
Hi, Amaka. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can
Yeah, I
I'll-
just sent it to you, to your email.
yeah, so apologies for the
No,
delay.
it's okay. It's fine. It's what it is.
I'm trying to access the mail. I think we had some network issues, so
Yeah, maybe that's. Oh, okay. I think I find it here. Is it sharing now?
yes. We can
Yeah.
see
Oh,
your screen.
oh,
we
okay.
can see your screen. So just waiting for the slide to come up.
Okay. Is it up?
Not yet.
It says I'm sharing.
Yeah, I think I should open the slide. I don't know if it's open already.
It's open. New share. Let me just share again.
Okay.
Yeah. I can see it from my end. I don't know
Yeah,
what you're.
we can see your screen now.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we
Oh,
can.
okay. So maybe the network was bad, I guess, because it just got stuck and I could not share. So how do I put down this ribbon? Hide it. Okay. All right. Sorry for the break in transmission, I would say. I guess I was not able to, I was trying to share and then it wasn't showing anything, even though I could see it open on from my end. So I'm just going to pick up from where Promise, right? That's her name, if I got that right.
Yes,
Okay. So I'll try not to emphasize some of the things she has talked about, but still there will be some overlap because it's similar experience, right? And it's the US. So you already heard about me from the introduction. So just one more thing I would like to tell you about myself is that I'm from Southeast Nigeria. So I guess you can tell from my name if there are some Nigerians in the call, you can tell Amaka, Igbo girl. Yeah, so I'm from Southeast Nigeria, Anambra precisely. But I grew up in Jos. I was born and raised in Jos. So I went to school in Jos all my life, basically. So coming here to the United States was actually my first time out of Nigeria to come here for school. And I started in 2022. So this is my third year. I'm just starting my third year. So just added background. That way we can all be friends now that you know everything about me. All right, so just by way of introduction, one thing I always tell people that come to ask me questions about graduate school in the US, they want to ask questions, what should we do, where should we start? I always talk about a personal reflection. I say it's very important before you begin to go about everything, you should be able to ask yourself 3 pertinent questions. Ask yourself, why do you want to go to graduate school? What's the reason behind it? Why do you need to go to graduate school? Are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it because someone else, your friend, your brother? What's the reason? When you know why you want to go to graduate school, then you have to figure out, why are you choosing the US? There are so many other countries. You have Canada, UK, South Africa, so many other options. Why is the US? Why is it important for you to come to the US? And then what is your end goal? What do you want to do with your graduate degree? These 3 questions they're very vital. And if you ask 100 people, you probably get 100 different reasons. So it's just like a personal reflection kind of thing. It's something you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror, figure out the answers to this question, because it's going to guide how you go about the process. So whatever your answers is, it's not for me to know, but it's for you to know. It's very good for you to have these reflections before you begin to go about the process. So once you figured it out, the next thing is you look at it, you ask yourself, where do I begin? It's always so daunting. Especially you are very far away from the United States. You are in Nigeria. I don't know if you have other countries on this call. Probably you do. So you are so far away and you feel there is this large disconnect. Like, where do I start from? What am I even going to do? What's the first thing to do? It's I just listed here a list of potential funding sources. I think Promise mentioned a few of them, and I'm just going to highlight them. Though she already talked about emailing your professor and getting direct funding from an advisor. For me, I would still say, or I would rather still agree with her, that I think that's the easiest way to go. That's really the easiest way to go most of the time, because once the professor says, I want this student, then you are in. There's not a lot of problems in between that. From the time a professor decides that you're a good fit for their program, it's already a done deal. It's about just waiting to get your admission letter. So that's always the way to go. But it's not always so easy, because you are emailing people who are very busy. So you may not get the response you are expecting. But that's one way to go. Then another way would be like applying directly to the school. Most of the time when you email a professor, you end up getting a research assistantship. So you are like a research, like me, I'm a research assistant in my lab for most of the professors, especially those who are fully into research. Sometimes it's like a teaching assistant where the college or the department supports your stipend. Now I'm talking about PhD students precisely most of the time, because you are going to be in school for a minimum of 3 years if you're really like super fast, but typically it's like 4 to 5 years. So for that period of time, you have to survive somehow, right? So you get a monthly stipend, which is supported either by your department or the college. So another option would be university. I talk about this university here, basically your home university. That's an option for those who are probably employed to their home university. You know, I was employed in the University of Jos before I came here. It wasn't an option for me, like, you know, I didn't have that opportunity, but I know a few people who traveled out based on the funding provided by their university. Well, it's becoming more difficult now, especially with the, you know, currency exchange rate. And then, you know, you have this bond. If they're paying for you, then you have to come back. So it's more complex, but I'm just putting it out there that that option is there. And then there are some scholarships that are targeted direct just for international students. So you need to be able to access this information, go online and find this information. Like I think Bill and Melinda Gates, they also have like funding for international students. Then there are some that are even targeted to only women. I know of one of the scholarship, it's American Association of University Women. That scholarship gives like 20,000 to the person that wins it, $20,000. That's a lot of money, but it's there. It's an option. It's available. It's something you can explore. Then you have maybe funding from your workplace. You know, if you're working in a really big company or so, and they are willing to fund you to go to school, it's still an option, though far-fetched, but it's there. And then loans is also there. I know of one student who came here on loan, though that's not something you want because it's a lot of money, right? So paying back becomes an issue. So that's why I just highlighted it, but it's still an option. So we'll just go straight. Having said that, we'll look at some of the key strategies you can employ in order to assess these fundings. You know, I guess you already know, but if you don't know, I'm telling you, sometimes some of these fundings are limited. Is too many people chasing fewer resources. It is what it is. You know, there are so many people. My professor, for one, she gets a lot of emails from Nigeria, from India, from Nepal. There's only so many people she can take at the end of the day. Most professors want 1 or 2 students or 3 because it's a lot of money to put you through, like to pay your way through the time you spend in school for 5 years. So they don't want to make that investment if they are not really sure. So it's good to have that at the back of your mind that if you really want to succeed in this, you have to be very strategic about your approach. You cannot afford to be, you know, have a laissez-faire attitude towards it and say, oh, okay, I'm just going to try one thing. It has to be this one option. And if this option doesn't work, then that's it. So that's not the way to go about it. You need to have like an open mind, like make a list of everything that applies to you and chase it in all that direction, you know, when you are sure. So that's why the next thing I would talk about is, are you eligible for this scholarship? Is very important before you begin to invest a lot of effort, before you begin to, you know, you begin to spend your time writing all these essays, preparing the package. It does take time. That's the truth. It does, for you to come up with a polished package. You want to go to the eligibility criteria. For most scholarship, it is listed. Look at what is required. What does it require? There are scholarships that are, for example, even now that I'm in the US, there are scholarships I'm not eligible for. It's just for US citizens. There are scholarships that are just for international students. Then there's scholarship that everybody can apply for. So it's good for you to know for whatever option you are choosing. Do I meet the criteria? Do I meet the academic requirements? Some of them will say maybe a GPA of 3.0, you know, like 3.0 and above. You know, some are specific to a particular field. So you want to make a list of all those things so you don't go on a wide goose chase. So things are really structured here. So if you are not eligible, your package is disqualified from the get-go. In fact, I've experienced that, something like that. But, you know, just because I was not too careful about looking at the eligibility. And then in my case, it was just trying to apply for just a small scholarship, because once you're in school, it doesn't mean that you stop applying for scholarships, right? Even if you get admitted, you still want to apply for small scholarships or grants here and there or travel award. So for my case, one of the eligibility criteria was that the people writing your references should not be on the scholarship board. I didn't know that. I didn't look at it. I just, gave the best person I thought. And he wrote a very beautiful referral. It was so beautiful. And he too did not even tell me. He didn't say, oh, I cannot write this referral for you. So I submitted it and I was so happy. But my entire package was disqualified from the beginning. So it was not even part of the pool. So you see how something so small can really just make things more difficult for you if you are not being careful to look at what you are searching for, because you are investing your time, right? And your time is your life. So as you invest your time, you want to make sure that you really are eligible for whatever, whichever of the opportunities you're going for. So something else I want to strongly talk about is an academic profile. It's very critical. We have this thing in Nigeria where we say school is scam. I mean, it's very, if there are Nigerians here, you would have heard that a lot. They say school is scam, who school help. Those are some of the things we say. But in the US, it helps you a lot. Just saying, I graduated with first class, I graduated as the best, that alone piques people's interest. This is a country where excellence is celebrated. I've seen that over and over and over again. So if you are still in school, you want to do the best you can to get the best possible results. That alone is like you've solved half of the problem. If you are coming to school and you already have a really good academic profile, half of your problem is already solved in terms of funding. People are always skeptical. It's not that they don't give, but they are skeptical.
Going up and down.
People are skeptical about are very skeptical about giving scholarship to people. Can you all mute yourself? Try to mute your call. All right, thank you. People are always skeptical to give a scholarship to someone who has like a weak academic profile. It's always the case. It's sad because your GPA doesn't necessarily prove what you know most of the time, but it's what it is. People feel like if you've put in the work, it already demonstrates discipline. If you are coming up and you're saying, oh, I finished the first class, I did this, it helps you. It helps you already. So it's very important to do that. But if at this point, let's say you've graduated and you finished your BSc, or maybe you finished a master's and you don't have a good GPA, you cannot go back and start 100 level all over again. You cannot go back to your BS and start afresh, right? So what can you do to remedy that? You can consider taking some standardized tests. You can try taking like courses or trainings. You want to do everything that boosts your chances. So even if these tests are not required, let's say you take a GRE, maybe it wasn't required. When I came here, I didn't have to do any of those tests, but I had a first class result, right? So that alone, I was saying, oh, I have a first class result. I graduated as the best in my university. That's a profile that kind of precedes you, and it makes it easier for somebody to want to, give you those scholarships. But everybody is not in that category. But don't let that discourage you. You can still sell yourself through other avenues. There are so many other things you can do. You can show experience. When you show experience in your proposed field of study, it's like a really big bonus. It gives a really big bonus for you to say, hey, I did a work in this. I went to your website. I see you're doing a work in this. I did this for my master's, or I did this for my undergrad. It's a point of interest. So the person who is trying to give you that funding knows that it will require minimal training to bring you on board. Nobody wants to bring in someone that is like, you are so new to the area. So you want to take that into consideration, even when you are choosing a course of study. You don't want to have a background in engineering, and then you are going to try to apply for medical school. Or you have a background in pharmacy and then you're trying to go to something entirely different. People do that when they come here. There is somebody who was in professor and now he's in law school. You can do that in the US. People do that a lot. People switch around and move to a different career. But if you are still outside and you're trying to come in, especially when you are looking for funding, you want to tailor those search for the course of interest to things that are related to the transcripts or the certificates you're coming with. That's why here they value transcripts a lot. You see your professors asking you, send me your transcript. They don't just want to see you made first class on paper. That doesn't mean anything to them. They want to look at the coursework. I remember when I was writing to my now advisor, that was one thing she said. She said, oh, send me your master's transcript. I want to see the courses you've covered. I want to know what your experience is. So when they see those courses and they can feel like, oh, okay, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, It gives them idea of like, oh yeah, this is the level of experience you have. So you want to do that. Then another thing is, as much as possible, try to participate in professional societies where in whatever country they are there. When I was in Nigeria, I remember being a member of the Botanical Association of Nigeria. I remember traveling from Jos to Lagos to attend the conference. It was fun. It was a good networking time, but it's something that it says that you are participating in something, right? You are doing something. So you look around you, look locally. Don't always feel like, oh, my country is, everything is so bad, it's so terrible, nothing is working. That's not true. That is so not true. Look around you for the opportunities that are available. Sometimes you can create this opportunity. You can create these outreach events depending on what your experience is. You can come up with something, come up with an idea, do an outreach for children, do something, show that you are giving back. You have a community mindset. You have a mindset of delivering value. Because something people don't understand is that scholarship is not charity. It's not charity. Nobody is giving you money for free. People opt to pay for your education because they've seen value in you. They've seen that you have something to offer. So they cannot just give. It's not because, oh, I feel so sorry for you. Nigeria is so bad here, scholarship. It's not charity. It doesn't work like that. So you should be able to show that you are bringing something to the table. And it's all up to you, and it's very different for everybody. So as much as possible, you want to come prepared. You want to come showing that you have something already. It's not a pity party, something that you say, feel sorry for me. They are fighting in my country. Feel sorry for me. I don't have food. Nobody, no, sad, but nobody cares. Nobody really cares about that. So try and have all these things at the back of your mind as you begin to put your package together. As much as possible, include activities that are meaningful to your experience. It's very important for you to do that. Then the next point I'm going to touch on is how you tell your story. Is very critical when you are introducing yourself. What do you want me to remember about you? When you are writing to a professor, how do you craft those things? How do you put it together? In this AI era that, people write everything with AI, you see, I say leverage it intelligently. There are two schools of thought. There are people in two extreme ends of, people say, oh, no, I'm never going to write with AI. Then there's people who write everything verbatim with AI and they download it and give it to you. But then people who are wise, you can use AI. There's nothing wrong with using it, but it's about how you use it. People say artificial intelligence is going to take your job. Somebody else said, no, it's not that. People who know how to use AI will take your job. It's not because the AI does not work in itself. So it's very important when you are trying to craft a story, personalize it. You should have a personal touch. Somebody should be able to read it and want to talk to you. It's very important. There have been times when somebody sends something to me, just from reading the first few sentences, I can just tell that everything was downloaded from ChatGPT. I can tell. It's such a turn off. You can just tell from the way the thing is worded and from the way it's flowing, you can tell that there is no human touch to this. So as much as possible, you are using AI to write whatever you're writing. Make sure that you are personalizing it. You are putting a personal touch to it. You are making it stand out. You're writing it in a way that shows that you've put some thoughts into what you're writing. And also for some professors, which is kind of rare, but I've seen a case whereby they will say, oh, write me a proposal. What are you proposing? What do you want to do for your PhD? In that case, you want to write a well thought out proposal. You want your objectives to be clear. The methodology should be clear. What is the significance? And most importantly, what is the potential impact of what you are proposing? Like, I'm trying to do this research. Why do you want to do it? Why should I care? So have those things at the back of your mind. Most times it doesn't come to that, but it's just a few cases. But a statement of purpose, that is compulsory. That's something you must write for any school you are applying for. So don't just copy a template, because there are so many free templates, right? Even if you go online and say sample templates, you go to chat, there are so many, they will give you so many. So when you gather all of those things, yes, you can use it as a resource. Look at it, but then look inward, look at yourself, look at what has happened to you. Your story should be about you. You should tell a story of who you are and not something that is so generic that it applies to everybody. Then the next thing, which I would, in my opinion, I would say this is the most important point. That is what I think. I think relationships will open doors for you that you don't expect. You usually you would think that maybe in a country as developed as US, there's this whole thing of knowing somebody it will have no bearing, but that's not true. When you should be very intentional about enriching your networks. You should be very intentional about it. What you can do, a really good tool, as I think Promise mentioned, I don't know if she mentioned it, is LinkedIn, actually. You want to go to LinkedIn, you want to begin to search for professors in and it's very easy. First and foremost, you can search a school. When you search a school, you search for people under that school. When you search for people, you begin to see the professors and their profile. You can check them. Some of them, even in their school website, they have their LinkedIn attached. Connect with them. Not everybody will respond, definitely, right? But that's why you need to be versatile. When you cast your net wide enough, it's like when you keep throwing mud to a wall, eventually something will stick. So that's how this works. So you cast your net wide enough, you'll be able to gather a network of people that know who you are. And it's important for people to know who you are. It's very, very important. So I'm going to say this from our background, at least for me as a Nigerian. When you are growing up in Nigeria, there is this thing whereby people have this mindset of you're always showing yourself. You do too much. Oh, you do too much. Let me tell you, do too much, except you don't know what you want. It's like that. So we grew up with that consciousness. I remember being like that when I was in Nigeria. It's just as if you are always trying to make yourself smaller just so that somebody does not feel offended. You're trying to appear, oh, let me not do too much. Or let it not be that I'm showing myself. Let it not be that I'm doing too much. Things like that don't work like that here. Self-advocacy is very important. You want to be there, you want to be able to be confident without being proud or rude. There is a line between all of these things. You can be a very confident person, a very assured person that you know your stuff. You're able to talk. You're able to hold like conversations back and forth online. You can have a discourse with someone on LinkedIn. Say somebody makes a post and you either agree or you don't agree. You make your comments intelligently. I don't agree with this. I don't think this is right. I think this is correct. Things like that. People are watching you. You would think people are not noticing until one day somebody says, oh, are you not the one that made that post? Are you not the one that talked about this? So it helps for you to practice all of these things. I know if you're an introverted person, it may not be very easy at first, but that is why some things in life, you need to be very intentional about it. You need to be very intentional. It's like, yeah, I know I'm a shy person. I know I'm an introvert, but I also want to go to the US for school. So I want to, as much as possible, make it easy for myself. So I'm going to make an effort. I'll create a LinkedIn profile. I'll try to have a good profile. I'll put information about myself there so that even when I'm writing to a professor and I say, oh, this is my LinkedIn profile, they can go and look. They can read about me. They can see what I've done. They can see some outreach events. They can see some conferences I've attended. They can see seminars or workshops. It helps. It's really, really helps. Where for somebody to just say, oh, I know that person. Oh, that person, I've seen them talk. I've so many times, these things are things that have worked for me as a person, whereby I'm just invited to come give a talk. Like I'm invited to come and give this talk. I don't know Emmanuel from anywhere. I don't know why he invited me, right? But if he was not probably seeing my LinkedIn post or something, he would not know that I exist. So the social media tries to make the world a global village, kind of. So it's the dots that brings people together. If you're just in your one corner doing your thing, you know what you know. But if you're not able to share, you're not able to share what you know confidently, you remain in that corner most of the time. It is what it is. So as much as possible, try to brush yourself up and present yourself excellently. Always, advocate for yourself. Be there, be able to say, this is who I am, this is the experience I have. Own it. Don't feel like, oh, because I'm in Nigeria or I'm in this country, people are so better than me. I don't know anything. I didn't learn anything. That's not true. It's not true. It's all about how you package yourself, present yourself well, and connect with people. Make good networks. Don't only go and meet people when you need them. It's always a turn off. People can tell when you are a user, when it's only because, oh, you need something now. But if you are very intentional about it, and you even know that you want to apply in the next 6 months, you want to apply in the next 1 year, you're in your last final year of school and you are graduating next year, you can start now to begin to build those networks. Just connect with people, engage with their posts, talk to them, go to their DM and say something, tell them about yourself. You are just building relationship. You are not asking for anything. It's now easier when you've done this for some time, and then you now say, oh, and I'm thinking of applying. The person already knows you. That track record is there. Even when you are looking for referral letters for something, when you are trying to get people who really matter, because that's another important thing. Who are the people referring you? Is another important thing. One thing that has huge bearing for graduate school admission is your referrals. So you don't want to go and get one professor that did not like you to begin with. Because I heard a story of somebody that wrote a referral for someone and said, this person has never been a serious person. That's something that was written in somebody's referral. And you won't know, right? Because most of these referrals, some of them are closed, such that the person referring you submits it directly to the university. So you don't even see what is being written about you. So this is something you want to be very conscious of. You don't want somebody that writes, once you have one negative referral, just be sure that that's it. Because they expect that people who are writing referrals for you is someone that really knows you, is someone that has trained you, is someone that can speak to your character. It's not just to your academic profile now. They want to know about your character from your referral. A good way to go about referrals I've learned is you are the best person to write about yourself. When you are asking someone to write a referral for you, a good way to go is to draft it. You can draft it. You can say, oh, please, are you going to write a referral for me? Yes. Can I send you a draft? I know you are very busy. You know, everything is about tact. How are you presenting things? I know you're a very busy person and, you know, I don't want to take too much of your time. So I can send you a draft. So maybe you can look through it and edit and, you know, decide. So you are in the best position to write about yourself. You know what you've done. You know what you've achieved. So you are in that best position to present yourself. I don't know how many referrals I've written about myself. Like, literally, if I'm asking you for a referral, I'm giving it to you. I'm telling you, this is it. This is me. This is what I want you to say about me. You don't want to be misrepresented. So it's very critical you keep that at the back of your mind. When you start looking for those 3 referrals for your application, make sure it's people that matter. Don't go and just bring one random person. Then people go and look at the profile of your referrals. That's something they do. I realized that my now advisor, she did that when I applied. She went to look at the profile of the person referring me. She was interested because she read the referral and then she went to look at them. She went to search for them, went to look at what they've done. So you also want to look for people who are who know their stuff, who have a good profile, that is not just a random roadside person that probably just has a bachelor's degree, is now referring you to go and do a PhD. You see, that does not add up very well. You know, so, and then you don't want to also just go and get your religious leader, even though it's good. Getting like your pastor or your priest to write a referral for you, the person can speak to your character. So that could be one of it, but it shouldn't be all of them. If you're having like 3 referrals, all of them should not be speaking to just, I know you based on your character. There should be some of them that should be able to talk to about your work ethics. You should speak to your work ethics, speak to your attitude, speak to your qualifications. All of these components need to be in your referral. Then another thing I want to really talk about is about being organized. When it comes to graduate school, you don't want to rush things, especially the US. There are times in the year where it is best to start looking. You want to start school in fall. You should probably start applying. Fall is August, right? Fall is August. You want to start school in August, which is the official school year. You probably want to start looking and applying a year before, like let's say you're going to school next fall. By this fall, you should start, you know, putting things together, writing those emails, you know, getting things in order, looking at the deadlines, making sure that you have your application polished and submitted before the deadline. Because things that are written, it's very easy for you to make mistakes that are very colossal without even knowing, especially if you're in a rush. You can want to say can and you write cannot. That changes the meaning, right? So if you are doing all of these things in a rush, you will not really know, you know, the mistakes you've made. But if you've had time to go through it, you've had time to customize it, you've had time to go through it several times. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. Everything I'm saying will not apply to you as an individual. There's also a place of grace, because me telling you I submitted the scholarship that brought me here a few minutes to the deadline. You know, it's a scholarship that takes like just one international student every year. I submitted a few minutes to the deadline. Those were special circumstances. It was, you know, a lot of issues happened, but I still got it. But that does not mean that is ideal. I'm not going to say, oh, because I did this and I got it, you do this. No, the right thing will be to take your time, have your package in order. You see here, I emphasize again about the use of AI. I emphasize again. In fact, I've seen scholarship now. I just applied for one that made it clear. It said, if you use AI, you'll be disqualified. it's something that was written like boldly. So if you use AI, we'll find out and you'll be disqualified. So people want to also see your skill as a person. Let it not be that, okay, because we now have ChatGPT to ask everything, then we don't have sense again. As a human being, you cannot think for yourself. You cannot solve problem. You shouldn't take away your problem solving skills. So you can use it as a way to increase readability, in a way to look at your adjectives and how you want to move it around. But it's very important that what you are writing is yours. Like, you can own what you are writing, and it is from you, and it's coming from your own personal experience. So that's very, very critical. And then this, I cannot emphasize this enough. When it comes to this process, finding yourself a mentor will make your life way easier than, like, it will make your life really easy. If you find someone you can always go to ask questions, someone that guides you, you will do the bulk of the work. That's just the truth. When it comes to graduate school admission, right? It's like when the student is ready, the teacher would appear. There's nobody that is going to leave what they are doing to start doing research for you, searching for schools, searching for professors. You're going to do it yourself, and you can do it. You really can if you put your mind to it. So just take your mind off trying to go and look for agents that will probably just take your money and you don't really know what is going on. That's not going to help you. You can, dedicate time to it. The most important thing in life is about being consistent in what you're doing. Even if you decide and say, oh, okay, I'm going to school next fall. Every day I'm going to dedicate 1 hour, 2 hours to this research. You need to be a good researcher. You need to be someone who is able to source for information. So if you are going to your mentor, you are going with information. There are times people have come to me on LinkedIn to ask me questions, and I can just tell that they've not even done the bare minimum. And it's just a turn off. That's just the truth. It's a turn off for everybody. When you, as a person who is trying to find information, you've not even done like the barest minimum that you can easily do with just a Google search. So when you begin to hammer people with questions like that, they get so, it's like, oh, I'm not going to do this thing for you now. I can guide you. I can provide feedback. I can help you. I can help you like look at what you've written, but I'm not going to write it for you. So it's very, very important in whatever you're doing. Make sure you find somebody who has possibly gone through the process, someone who is in the country of interest that you're going through, somebody somebody who you can, write and send it back to them and say, okay, can you look at this? What do you think of this? And then there are lots of graduate school positions that expect an interview, like they do a Zoom interview. I didn't have to do that, that was not necessary for me, but I've seen cases where people go through series of interviews. These are very important opportunities. First impression matters. You will not always have the opportunity to redeem yourself. That's something you need to know as a person. So whatever opportunity you've been given, don't be a haphazard person. Come prepared, come looking sharp, come confident. Just the way you package yourself already, you're already feeling good about the interview you're about to have. It's not that they give you an opportunity and say, okay, yeah, let's meet. And then you are looking all ras and your hair is not in place, you're just all over the place. Some people may not notice that, but some people will. So you want to avoid issues where you be the one removing yourself from the pool by a careless mistake you could have corrected. Like something so easy, something so simple, just as I told you, like the scholarship that I did not get was, I could have used another referral, right? I had so many people that could have written the letter. At least I would have stood a chance. But now by just making that mistake, I was no longer in the pool. It's like that. So it happens like that in all spheres in life. When you are given an opportunity, you will not always have that chance to come back and say, oh, I made a mistake the first time. Oh, this was a mistake. Oh, let me correct it. It doesn't work like that. So practice. When you have those opportunities for those 15 minutes interview, 20 minutes, let's meet up, practice the ability to be able to articulate what you want to do clearly. You want to go like, you have a strategy. This is what I'm planning. This is what I'm going to do to get to it. This is the potential impact it's going to have. You want to be clear on it. When somebody asks you, tell me about yourself. These are very simple questions. People put you on the spot and they say, tell me about yourself. And some people will start telling you, I'm from this village, I'm from that village. No, when you have to look at who is asking you about yourself to know what matters, right? If you have a friend, if you're meeting a new friend and your new friend is asking you to tell me about yourself, then the person probably wants to know about you, about your life. but you're meeting a potential advisor and he's asking you about yourself and you're telling him, I have 3 siblings, I have 4 siblings, I'm from this village. What does he care? Like, you know, so you need to have that ability to know the information to provide in specific situations. Someone is asking you, tell me about yourself. In this situation, they are trying to find out your background, mostly academic and research-wise, and outreach and volunteer. That is at least the first place to start. You want to start from the most important information. It's not that you cannot get to the point where you begin to talk about family and stuff like that, but you have to get to that point. You want to start at what distinguishes you, what drives you, who are you as a person, what background do you have, what have you done academically, what's your profile? That's the question that you are being asked. So practice these things, find somebody who is willing to help you, but most importantly, help yourself. You are your own biggest cheerleader, you are your own biggest supporter. These things you have to, there are so many things you have to do for yourself. Before you begin to reach out and ask people for help, there are some things that you can do from the comfort of your own home. And the good thing about it is that you don't even have to spend any money to do it. Maybe the only thing you have to spend is just the little amount of data for those who probably do not have free Wi-Fi. That may be the only investment. So the initial investment for graduate school in the US is up from the moment you decide you want to go to school in US to the time you get admitted. You probably not spend any amount of money. You will not spend any money, except maybe you want to get your passport, which is okay because it's an ID card, right? You want to get your passport, yeah, you get your passport and it's yours. You're not going to spend any money until probably you have been admitted, and then you're talking about money for flight tickets and things like that, and then maybe money to go for the visa interview. But at that point, you know you already have an end goal. I've already been admitted. So even if I'm borrowing money, even if I'm selling my car, or even if I'm selling something I have, I'm confidently doing it because I have been admitted. So it's very good to try as much as possible to find a mentor, try to get feedback from them, try to be a responsible person first. Be responsible, be a responsible person. Do the bare minimum. I've had a student writing to me on LinkedIn, and then he said, you know, dear Dr. Ifeduba, I want to join your lab. I'm like, I don't even know what to answer you, because the first thing on my profile says PhD student. So if you are now writing to me, assuming I'm a professor, it just tells me that probably you just copied and pasted and changed the name. You are just copying and pasting. You've not done the bare minimum. So try as much as possible to do your own part. And then it's easier for people to help you when you've done your own part as a person. Then as a way of conclusion, this is my concluding slide. I'm just going to give you a charge just to, first and foremost, in your pursuit, have faith. You need to really, really have faith. You need to believe in yourself as much as possible. You need to believe that, yes, this is what I want to do. I can do it. I'm willing to put in the work to do it. I know it may not be easy. I know it may take time, but I'm going to do it. Don't self-reject. Don't reject. If you don't apply, automatically you don't get the admission, right? So because you've just eliminated yourself from the opportunity. If you don't start, you don't reach any point. So as much as possible, try to believe in yourself, be consistent about it. Don't be all over the place. These are things that require, you are talking to people who are experts in their field, people who are busy. You want to come correct. You want to come, even if you're not a professional, present yourself as such. Everything takes training. You don't learn everything in one day. But if you are willing and you are putting in the work, you begin to improve your ability to articulate yourself. The more practice you get, the more you put yourself out there, the easier it becomes to interact with people, the easier it is to do all of these things. So just trust the process and keep at it, and know that, yeah, definitely, if you do everything right, things are probably going to align. So this QR code will lead you to my LinkedIn page. If you want to connect with me, sure, do that. Usually I make a lot of posts about graduate school, life in general, my project. I just like to write, so I write whatever I feel like writing. So you can connect with me. I'll just ask you to be respectful. If you have questions, you can ask me questions in my DM. I'm definitely going to get to it in a day or two. Just be respectful and we won't have any problems. And I'm really happy to share this time with you. And I do hope that some of these insights I've shared would maybe make your life a little easier in pursuing your dreams for coming to school in the US, and I wish you the very best. Good luck to you. If you have any questions, I'll try to attempt. I'll attempt to answer your questions. So I'll stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Amaka. Thank you so much for such insightful session. And I must say, this typically just covers every step, every item any student needs to strategically position themselves for funding. Talk about emailing professors, presenting yourself, having good recommendations, applying to both scholarships, the different kinds of scholarships you can apply in the US, government funded, school funded for people already in school, work funded, and all of that. So thank you very much for that session. I'll just take a few questions. So I don't know if anyone wants to ask any question, please can use the raise hand button on Zoom, or you could just type a question in the chat box and I'll read it out for Amaka. So if you have a question, you can just raise your hands and I'll call you up. Okay. So we have a question for from Prearrival. Okay, I think I should take Joy's question first. It came in first. Okay, during the application process, can one particular recommendation letter from a referral be used for 2 PhD applications, or should a referral use different letters for different applications?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. But one thing you need to know is that typically for most of the US schools, if not all of them, your referral has to submit your referral letter to the school portal. So they send you a link, like when you put in the name, the information, like when you are filling out your application, you get to the point where they will ask you to fill in the name and the email of the person you want, because you decide who you want to refer you. So you put in the person's name and then the school sends like a link to them where they have to click to upload that referral letter. So you can have one referral writing to 10 schools. It doesn't matter. There is no cross. The schools don't work hand in hand. It's not going to matter as long as they are changing the necessary information, right? You don't want your referral submitting your application to Texas A&M to another school where the caption on the letter is saying a different school. But the content is, you are one person. So for me, I've had a lot of referral letters written by the same people. Most of the time, we just adapt it. We just change it. Nowadays, if I want a referral for anything, I just go to my old referral, maybe change it, update on certain things I want to update, take out some things I want to take out, and then I'll just say, oh, please, I have this, I'm applying for this thing. Can you sign this letter and submit it? And I'll send them the link. So I just make it easier for them to do. So you can have one referral. Yeah, that's totally fine. You just need to change the necessary information where you need to. There will be no school that will ask you to bring the referral by yourself and submit it by yourself, because they know in that case you can write whatever you like, right? If it was up to you to write your referral and submit it by yourself, then you can literally submit whatever you like. So I hope that helps you clarify.
Okay,
yes,
thank
please.
you very much. Next question we have in the chat box is from Praise, and then we'll take some hands that are raised. So can an applicant go ahead and apply to a school even without getting any funding feedback from the emailed professors?
Yes, you can. You really, really can. People have done that and people have been admitted through that means, but we usually emphasize the emailing of the professors because we are trying to make your life easier, right? Because you've emailed the professor, you get a feedback, you know you are in. So you know your application money, how much is, depending, some schools is like $100. I think my school is like 114 or something like that, but it's usually within that range, maybe $100 to 150 or less. So you know what the exchange rate is. So you know what that money is for you. So you're talking about maybe 100,000 or more than that, depending. So in that situation, you are trying not to, quote unquote, waste this money repeatedly. That's why it's always safer for you to like, okay, let me try to secure an advisor. If I've gotten to a point where I'm in good talks with a professor, then I'm sure that if I'm spending this money to apply, then it's good. It's like when I started talking back and forth with my own advisor, she did not tell me she was going to fund me. And I think Promise mentioned this, it's very critical that when you start going to talk to advisors, don't just go and say, I'm so and so person, please, can you fund me for my PhD? I've emphasized, it's not charity. Nobody cares about you like that. That's the thing. So you have to first of all present the value you bring. So when I started emailing my own professor, what she said to me was like, oh, there's this scholarship opportunity, the one I mentioned that I had submitted at the dying minute. There's this scholarship opportunity. You can apply for it. If you get accepted, then because it's a scholarship that pays 50% of both my funding and stipend. And that's a lot of money. That's for a period of like 3 years is a lot. So she said, if you get this scholarship, then I will match. So in that case, I had to apply. I applied and we almost missed the deadline, but eventually I got it and now I'm here. So you can go ahead and apply if you have money to spare and if you are very confident in your, in your package. There's nobody stopping you. In fact, the schools, they encourage you. They want you to apply, right? You are enriching them. So people apply, people apply, people apply. But if you can do the due diligence of trying to have contact with someone who is already looking forward to bringing you, then your life is easier. Yes.
Okay, great. Perfect response. Thank you very much. So we'll take a question from one of our participants whose hand is raised. Glory Uchechi can unmute and please straight to the question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for this session. It was really enlightening, Amaka. Thank you. So my question is, did you at a point when doing your application have to publish maybe say a project in a journal to maybe fast track your applications or to give you this edge? So is it important to have that if you don't have one? Is that important? And please, do you mind sharing the link of the scholarship you mentioned?
Okay. All right. First question, you talked about publishing in a journal. I would say yes and no. In this is like it's like a rat race, just bringing it down. It's like everybody, like I said, too many people chasing few resources. So whatever you have that gives you an edge, gives you an edge. Whatever you have that I don't have is something that is good for you. So it's not a requirement. So many things are not requirements. It's not like, oh, if you don't have a publication, you cannot get an admission. That's not true. As of when I was going to come here, that was even when I started writing my papers, because I finished my master's. So I was already here and then it was published eventually. So it's not a requirement. If you can show strength in other areas, this will not count so much. But this becomes a case of where, let's say you have very poor CGPA. An excuse for having a poor CGPA could be that you are very focused in your research. That's a very good excuse. Let's say my CGPA is low, but I can show that I've published 2 papers. So I can say I have a research mindset. I was focusing the time on doing research. That's why my CGPA is not so great. You see, you have an excuse for that. But let's say your CGPA is, you have 1.22, like that, very, very, very watery CGPA. And then you don't have any research outputs and you get, so that's the point. So anything you are able to have that adds to your application makes you stand out, because people are evaluating hundreds of applications. Like if you know the number of people that apply to each school, to each program every year, you know the kind of money these people are making. Sorry, I said that, but it's true. People are applying, both those who are eligible, those who are qualified. People are spending, and they will keep encouraging you to apply. That's the truth. So if you don't do your due diligence as a person, you will also be in that pool. You hear somebody that say, I've applied to 10 schools and I did not get admission to any of them. I've applied to, I, for one, I only applied to 1 school. I only applied when I did decide to, I never wanted to leave Nigeria. I used to be very patriotic. I was highly patriotic. I believed I was part of the people to change Nigeria. But right now, I'll still change it from afar, God's willing. Yeah, but at that moment, when I did decide that I wanted to leave, I only went to do a lot of research on the things I needed to do. I didn't have a lot of money to spare. I didn't have a lot of time. So I tried as much as possible, find a program, so I applied to just one school and I got admitted into that one school. So it's possible if you are willing to do the bulk of the work beforehand. It saves you money, it saves you effort. You can be more assured in the direction you're going. Yeah, and if you have data to publish, do it. It's good practice because you come to graduate school, you will write and write and write until you get tired of writing. That is just the truth. So whatever you begin to do to train yourself now, it's good for you. You already have data from your undergrad research or something that we do in Nigeria. At least I published mine eventually, but my advisor did most of it. She made herself the first author, but that's fine. My name is still there on the paper, right? It's still there. So if you do that, you can go online and look for all of these journals, see the format of it, put in your work, even if it's a Nigerian journal, even if it's just a Nigerian journal, it's okay. It's your country. It shows with these limited resources that I have, I was able to do this. That is what it shows. Like, oh yes, I'm in this place, I'm constrained, I have all these limitations, but I was still able to do this. So it's important. So that's the advice I'll give you. If you have data to publish, go ahead and do it. But if you don't feel like you have to beat yourself up or, it's not going to stop your chances if you look at the other areas which I've mentioned. And the scholarship I mentioned that is for women is American Association University Women, is AAUW. If you type it on Google, the link will come up. American Association of University Women. So I think they have a session that is specific for international students, and it will give you $20,000 a year. So, and I think you can even renew. So go to that website and check. This is mainly for women. I know somebody who got this scholarship. So and the money goes to you. The money goes to you directly. Unlike the other scholarship that would go to your school. When you get this scholarship, it will go to you as a person. So even if you have like funding and you get this as an addition, then it's just a big bonus. Yes, please. Next question.
Okay, thank you very much. So, one of our participants from YouTube asked a question. So, can the speaker throw more light on funding through loans? What are the upside and downsides of getting a loan from loan institutions like NPAR in Nigeria?
Okay, that's a very good question. That was why I highlighted it when I talked about it. I just wanted to put it out there that option was available. I do not advocate for it. I will not advise you to go through that process, except it becomes like your last resort. I'd rather say try to get funding, because you're talking about getting a loan in Nigeria. Let's say, for example, your school for 1 year, let's do a little math, right? Your schooling for 1 year on average is $50,000. Say $50,000, and $1 to Naira now is how much? 1,415. What is it? Somebody tell me. What's the dollar to Naira conversion now? What's what? 1,650. Okay, let's say 1,650. So 1,650 multiplied by 50,000. So you are talking about 82 million and extra for 1 year, for going to school for 1 year. So do you see why it's not the best approach? Because how are you going to pay back this money? That's the truth. How are you going to, when you entangle, in fact, which of the loan institution would even give you this money to begin with? Let's start from there. Which of them, what would you have to show them? As if you had something worth this amount, then you probably just pay the money yourself, right? Instead of going through getting a loan. Some people also get a loan here in the US. I know a guy that came from Dubai. He came here for masters, and he was able to secure a loan from a loan institution here in the US. So if you are already out of Nigeria, it's kind of easier to secure a loan here. There's a lot of student loan here. And the good thing about student loans here is that it gives you a long time to pay after graduation, when compared to maybe loans that you get in Nigeria that will now start posting your picture on Facebook and telling the world that you've defrauded them. If you get a loan here in the US, for example, you may have a payment plan of 15 years, 20 years. You pay gradually, month to month. So that is how it is. So, but from Nigeria, if you are in Nigeria and you're trying to secure a loan here in the US, you better have a very strong case with the kind of reputation we have as Nigerians and money. I don't need to say it on this call. If you're a Nigerian, you already know the reputation you have when it comes to things like that. So loans, I don't advocate for it because it's tough. It's really tough going that route.
Thank you so much, Amaka. And again, I don't recommend taking loans for grad school. That's quite the amount, right?
School
2
hardly.
million. It's not, and that's for 1 year, right? So if you are doing a
That's just
PhD for
1 year.
5,
Yeah, the math I did was just for 1 year. And you are talking about 3, 4, 5 years. So just
exactly.
think about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Amaka. Our time is up for this session. We're now struggling with time, so that we don't keep people on the call for too long.
Yeah.
But for any questions we've not been able to take today, tomorrow we're having a panel session, over an hour dedicated to just answering questions. So please, tomorrow join us, for answers to questions that you might have as relates to grad school. So once again, on behalf of Cable, we want to say a very big thank you, Amaka, for coming to speak to us and then sharing insights as relates to grad school and positioning for funding. I don't know if Obasi would want to make a quick comment before we move on.
Thank you so much, Amaka. Really do appreciate the fact that you were able to come join us today. We had some little technical issues during the middle of our session, but we thank you for being patient with us and still being on the call to share from your wealth of experience. We say thank you so very, very much. I'm happy to have you, and of course, if you're willing to join us again next year, I think it will be very, very great as well. Thank you very, very much. On behalf of Cable, as Daniel has said, we want to, send our heartfelt appreciation to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's been fun, and I'm so happy doing this because I feel passionately for the next generation. I did mention to you that, I was really among the people that did not want to leave Nigeria, but right now I also advocate for people who want to leave because, of course, I understand. I understand how it is. So I'm always happy and excited to help however I can. I have a lot of people who connect to me and just ask questions. I share opportunities when I come across them, links and things like that. So I'm really happy, and I thank you for finding me worthy, whatever rubric or criteria you use to decide to invite me. Thank you for the invitation, and you all have a good time and try to join up the sessions and, just educate yourself. Knowledge is really powerful. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the less ignorant you are, and the more easier it is to navigate all of these processes. It's really not rocket science. It's just about going through things step by step, just checking off the boxes, doing what you need to do. When you keep doing that, it becomes really easier. So that's my final word for you. You all take care, have fun, and bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. It almost sounded like our closing remark already. But to just run through and okay, so I'll just take the announcements. I don't know, Emmanuel, please, if it's possible to just take a screenshot. I think we can have people turn on their video, so we just have a screenshot to mark the photograph session. Quickly, please, let's turn on our cameras and let's take a quick photograph to just document these sessions that
I think
we've had.
you're sharing your screen, so I think.
Oh yeah, let me stop there for now. Okay. Gallery view. Yep. Okay. So just a moment. Okay, thank you so much. Just a minute. Let me get more questions in. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for that. So quickly, we'll just take a few announcements and then we'll head out our respective tasks. Okay, so yes, tomorrow, like I mentioned, we are having panel session, get to answer all of your questions about grad school. And we're also having a live review of a statement of purpose, right? A live review of a statement of purpose. So come with your statement of purpose. Tomorrow on the call, a
Daniel?
link will be shared. Yes,
Yeah, just to add,
confirm you can.
we have,
Okay.
yeah, we do have, I mean, before the live reviews, SOP, I think Gideon has a very brief session. And yeah, of course, to set like a premise for reviewing the live SOP for tomorrow. So Gideon's session will just come
Exactly.
just before that.
So there'll be a session, Gideon does here. Gideon will be talking about writing, an SOP, recommendation letters, and all of that. So once he's done, we'll have a live review. Send out a link, and please come tomorrow with a copy of an SOP. We'll just select from the pool, have a live review, and then you get to learn from that. And also tomorrow, like I mentioned, we're having a panel session. We have our speakers are waiting. Chebuka has been very much active from the start of this conference, responding to questions that you have about grad school in the chat box. And tomorrow he'll be ready to take on your questions as you would have them. So there's a link already provided. You can start sending in your questions. I know some questions we're not taking today. So you can either scan the barcode, the QR code you're seeing on the screen, or you visit the link bit.ly/CableGSC 2024. Cable GSC is in capital letters. So take note of that. Share your questions. If you see a question, someone has asked a question and you feel that you have, that question is similar to what you wanted to ask, you could like the question and it puts it up there as a very important question that needs to be answered. So yes, tomorrow we hope to see each and every one of you. Also, please follow us on Telegram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Instagram at the various tags you are seeing on your screen right now. You can, especially our Telegram community, because we're sharing a lot of resources there as pertains to grad school opportunities. And also on LinkedIn, you can follow us to keep, to stay updated with our events and our programs. On YouTube, you can rewatch. If you did not join day 1 and day 2, today is day 3. You missed out on day 1 and day 2. You can, rewatch these sessions on our YouTube channel as well. And just to mention, save the best for the last. Our Cable GRE scholarship will be launching, right after session tomorrow. And I don't want to spill the beans. So tomorrow, more details about this will be shared. Join in so you get to hear more about the Cable GRE scholarship. And I would welcome Emmanuel Obasi to give us our closing remarks for today. Over to you, Emmanuel.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I always try to reiterate every single day, right? It is one thing to gather a lot of knowledge. It's another thing to start making use of whatsoever you've learned today. You've been able to hear like my rate of information from people sharing from their experiences and also from the journey they themselves have gone through. I was once like this, listening to a session like this in 2020, and I had so many informations and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I thank God that I was able to have some set of friends and have a platform where I could channel my desires and every information I've garnered towards achieving something that was great. And that was how it was successful. A lot of information have been discussed here. I mean, it is your primary responsibility to go back and have a draft out plan for yourself. We've done so much. We provided also a platform on Telegram where we're going to, go with you all through this step, right? If you're having issues, questions, of course, ask those questions there. And that is why tomorrow's session is very, very much important as well. If you have anything, any challenge along the line, you can always reach us on the Telegram page. One person would be there to assist you. Tomorrow, GRE scholarship scheme, we'll be talking more on that tomorrow, like you've heard from Daniel. If you've missed any other sessions, please don't miss tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is very impactful. The panelists will be here to answer diverse form of questions that have gone through the SOP. And please invite a friend, right? You probably may be thinking, okay, I'm here, it's very good for me, but someone out there will probably need this information tomorrow. Someone out there will probably want to be here tomorrow. So invite someone. We start again tomorrow by 5 p.m. And it's our prayers that, at the end of our conference, you would have stepped into another dimension where, when you look back 2 weeks ago, you were not there regarding this graduate school conference. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow. God bless you. Again, lastly, sorry, I forgot the prizes, right, for
tomorrow.
the first and second day would be made available tomorrow, right? People that have won prizes for the first and second day. Unfortunately, we were unable to take icebreakers today because of so many sessions. But I think we should probably do an icebreaker tomorrow. I don't know, but for the first and second day, we'll make prizes available to those that won first and second. So yeah, please come tomorrow. We'll definitely have that for you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just about mentioning that. And with that, we come to close of day 3. See you tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. West African time. Links will be shared in your emails. Please reach out, invite someone, share on your status, invite someone who you know needs to get into grad school. And with that, we close the curtains for day 3. See you tomorrow and good night.